So if you guys have been following along on my sandrail project, you likely will have seen the spindles that I built for it. Kind of some interesting shapes there on those spindles, and there is some strategy behind all that. So I want to talk about steering axis inclination, and I've incorporated that into the spindles. And to illustrate what I'm talking about, today I'm going to be using this glue gun here, and I got some wheels here from one of my RC cars, and I got some hinges here. This one I've cut down. You see I've taken some out of the corner, and this one I've left as is. So hot melt glue gun, kind of a handy tool sometimes. You can see how this hinge pin here, you see how the pin is basically parallel with the rim itself. And then look what I did with this one. This is the one where I cut the hinge back on one corner. You can see the hinge pin is now at an angle. It is not parallel with the rim. And the bottom of this hinge pin is kind of pointing towards the inside of the tire here, somewhere in this area. So I'm going to show you what happens now. I'm going to take the one with the parallel pin, and so if I just put some pressure on the bottom of the wheel, it does exactly what you would expect it to do. See, it easily swings out of the way. But if I take the other one with the angled hinge pin on it, now you're going to see it act completely different. See, this one, it resists spinning out of the way. I can do it if I want to. If I put a little bit of sideways, or depending on how I hold it, I can make it flip over to the side, but I can feel right away that there's a huge difference in this wheel. It does not want to flip over to the side. And so now imagine if I was going to take that hinge pin out, and I decided I had to take it out from the bottom. So I would have to drill a hole, like maybe here in the tire somewhere, drill up through the rim, and then you can see how that hinge pin, would want to come out in here somewhere. See, that's what makes this work, because of where it wants to pivot. All right, top view now. So back to the one with the parallel hinge pin. Watch what happens when I steer this one. You're going to see the wheel. It has kind of like a sweeping arc to it as it goes through its turn. The rim doesn't actually stay in one spot. It kind of wants to travel. Okay, now let's compare that to the other one. So now we're on to the one with the angle and the hinge pin. So now look how this one acts. See, this one is basically content just to pivot in one spot. And it's pivoting in the spot where this pin would want to come out the bottom of the tire. That's the pivot point on this assembly. So a couple of things with steering axis inclination, when that geometry is figured into the whole steering, then you've got wheels that turn easier, like with the steering wheel. Plus, you don't have near the risk of having your tire getting knocked out of place when it hits like a big log or something in the road. Because if that wheel suddenly takes a hard hit like that, then it's likely going to rip the steering wheel right out of your fingertips and possibly injure your hands. So when I originally built this buggy, I actually set it up like this: 0 axis inclination angle. And for the most part, it didn't work too bad, but there was 1 or 2 times I definitely noticed when I had to go through that. I hit something and then bang, there, the steering wheel took a hard hit. So we're going to have a look at the buggy now. I'm going to show you how that is set up here. Okay, so the current configuration here on the buggy is I do have some steering axis inclination angle figured into the geometry. If you have a look at that top rod end up in here, and then imagine drawing a straight line through there, draw a straight line through the bottom one, and then to see where it would come out. You could actually pause the video. I'll put this thing kind of head-on shot here. If you wanted to pause the video and put a ruler on the screen, you could actually tell where the pivot point is. And so it comes out somewhere over here. It's on the left side of that rib right there. So it could maybe be over just a little bit more. I think if you go on the forums, you're going to find a discussion on whether or not it should be exactly in the middle or maybe a little bit off to the side. I think you're going to find some differences in opinion there. But anyways, mine is off to this side, and it could maybe be a little bit more towards the center. However, it's not too bad. And there's also some things that a guy doesn't think about sometimes. There's actually things that affect the pivot point, and that is the size of the tire and the offset of the rim. So imagine if if my pivot point is here, and I got a different offset rim, well then the pivot point changes too. You know, I can actually move the pivot point based on the offset of the rim. And the same thing, imagine if I put like a really small tire, you know, it was only like till here, you know, only that high, a really, really small tire. Well then my pivot point ends up likely beside the tire. Or if I had a really, really, really tall tire, then my pivot point might even end up on the other side of the tire. You see what I'm saying? So anyways, I just figured I'd put this stuff out there. I know there's some pretty good gearheads out there that likely would find this interesting. So thanks for checking this out.